It's Grace Redman. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Real Talk, where I get to have real life, raw conversations with incredible people from my circles and communities who've overcome challenges and created amazing. Today's guest is someone who plays the game where championships are actually won in the mind. Grant Parr is a mental performance coach, sports psychology expert, speaker, and former NCAA quarterback who helps athletes transform their performance from the inside out. He is also the author of The Next One Up Mindset, How to Prepare for the Unknown. Grant works with rising junior athletes to collegiate and professional competitors, helping them master pressure, bounce back from setbacks, and perform consistently when it matters most. His approach blends cutting-edge mental performance tools with real in-game strategies. What I love about Grant is that he makes the mental game practical. He translates complex psychology into confidence, emotional control, and clarity under stress. Skills that don't just elevate performance in sports, but in life and in business as well. Please help me welcome my mental performance coach, Coach Grant Parr.
Grace, I love it. That was a great introduction. Thank you.
That's you. That's all you. Coach
Uh,
Parr, GP, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm
Great to
I'm
see you.
doing good on this, rainy out, overcast San Francisco day, but I'm doing good.
Yeah, Bay Area. We just came off the
Yeah,
Super Bowl weekend. Did you have a good weekend?
I did. I was in LA, which the
Mhm.
weather was awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I enjoyed it. It was great. I got to do some really cool stuff there, and the Super Bowl was fun.
Yeah,
Um, wasn't the best teams that I wanted to see, but
right?
it's football, so I love it.
Yeah. Well, it was fun for me because it was here locally and the city was buzzing and it was just
Mhm.
fun to be out and about.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know who was playing until like but I always love connecting with you because I love talking about mental performance and
Mhm.
that's really your jam. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you and continue to work with you because I've realized like mental performance is really what gets us to our peak performance.
Yeah.
And so can you share a little bit like what that means? Like what does mental performance mean?
Well, mental performance is, to me at least, to have mental performance, that you have to be consistent in habits, um, in connecting the mind and the body and the emotions and the spirit, right? But when we think about what's interesting, it might be a different twist of thinking about mental performance. Because we always, in sports or in performance, we talk about the mental game. And so I get it. And I'm in the game of mental performance. But really what I'm into, it's really the energy game.
Mm,
So when we think about mental performance, it's more about what are we doing that's going to align and calibrate and ground the energy and and cultivate the energy so we can actually have a mental performance. So I think we overlook that sometimes on how we're taking care of our energy, how to protect it, sustain it, so we can have a better mindset.
yes, and you've taught me that energy is everything.
Mhm.
And when you talk about energy, what do you mean by energy? What do you mean by energy frequency?
Well, I think sometimes I always love going deep on this. You and I both go deep on this,
Bring
but
it.
but it's more, when I talk about energy, it's about your light.
Mm,
So we all have light, and a lot of times we're the ones that we're the ones that get to switch on and off the light. Sometimes we're in the effect of other people, other energies, other situations. We become a victim of the circumstance, and then our light becomes dim. So, when it comes to our frequency, it's about doing certain things, being consistent with certain habits that take care of our energy. That whether if it is breath work, meditation, our language is it's just it's to me it seems obvious, but some people don't really connect too much about really language is energy. Why do you think they call it positive self-talk and negative self-talk?
100%.
There's energy, there's an energy pull there. So I think it's just when we talk about energy, it's just about just being consistent with doing things that are going to cultivate it and take care of your energy.
What would be some of those things that can help cultivate and take care of our energy?
Well, there's with the breath work meditation. I also think that journaling, walking,
Mhm.
you know, I know you're going to smile when I say this, and this means a lot of different things, but like walk to win. So when we walk to
That was
win,
a question. You just took it. Yeah. See, we're all on the same wavelength.
yeah, walking to win has a couple different meanings to it, but walking to win, we need to. It's not about running and racing to the next thing and being number one and trying to accomplish everything. Sometimes we have to slow down to enjoy the journey. But like walking to win also is slowing down and really paying attention to things around us and connecting to them. So like you and I have talked about this when we're on walks, it's not necessarily about checking everything out per se. It is. It's like connecting with the nature and listening to sounds and smells and and dropping into yourself. But sometimes it's like what's between the branches, what's between the leaves, what's between the buildings, what's between the clouds, and really just connecting to all things. And so sometimes like with that, to me it's about being one. So when I'm one, my energy is fully connected. And
Mhm.
so and music, me and music, that's another thing that whether if it's listening to music, whether if it's making music, that's another activity that kind of can calibrate your energy.
I love that. And when we talk about, again, like I said, mental performance, then we have the energy, like being in alignment.
Hmm.
There's a sense of, excellence and perfectionism that comes with high performers.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between perfectionism and excellence?
Yeah, I think so. But
What's the difference?
perfection isn't. So I think for me, perfectionism is a trap.
Mm,
So it's an illusion, like because yeah, if you think about it, we live in an imperfect world. So why are we trying to be perfect in something that's imperfect?
yeah,
So excellence, I think, is rooted in habits and it's in behaviors. So you could be chasing a perfectionism like habit, which is going to get you into a trap, and you're going to be in a loop because you're going to be trying to chase something that is not real,
yeah,
and then you're going to get frustrated, and then that becomes dark, and then your energy becomes dark, and then after a while when you don't meet that expectation and you're constantly not meeting that expectation, or you're being stuck in the comparison game, or other people's opinions that you're like that has more effect on you than your own language, and you're starting to like and you're not being perfect based off what other opinions are coming at you. It's a trap.
totally.
It's a trap.
And so I want to ask you about intention. So oftentimes, in my experience, intention behind perfectionism is uh, is like wanting to prove yourself,
Mhm.
and the intention behind excellence is you don't really have that attachment to wanting to prove yourself. How is the energy different between those two intentions?
I think it's all about it's the intent. Like so, the energy is about being.
Mhm.
Okay, so when we think about being anything, being smart, being relaxed, being kind, being loving, that's an intention. So when we're actually are being anything, we're being present, and there is no expectation of just being in the moment. And I know you and I have said this many times, and I love saying it all the time, but we're not human doings, we're human beings.
Oh,
And
thank you
so,
for doing that today.
right?
Reminder, yeah.
So where being is that's the energy that of excellence. That's the energy of
Mhm.
where we want to go. The perfectionism, um, if you think about being perfect, doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel good being perfect. I mean, I don't know. It seems shallow because I know there's nothing. It's nothing about. Don't get me wrong. There's moments where you have like this awesome connection with a person, and you meet, and you're like, oh, that was perfect. You
For
have a
sure.
great glass of wine or a meal. It's perfect. Okay. that's describing the emotion. But when we're talking about performance, there's nothing perfect about performance. Um, so I don't know. And there's also another thing that comes into mind is like consistency. Like, how
Mm,
do we become consistent with the way of being?
mm.
That to me is where I want to play and where I want to focus.
So consistent with the way of being. So you mean consistent with the way of being, like being present, being in alignment.
Yeah. And setting that intention or that way of being with everything that you do. So when you start your day, how do you want to be? When you go into, when you're working out, yoga, when you're going into a meeting, when you're going to go hang out with friends, like when you're dealing with multiple energies, like how do you want to be?
Mhm.
Also, when you know that you're going to perform, you know there's going to be some failure or mistake that you're going to deal with. So how do you want to be when that happens? And how we, you know what I mean? So it's not all about being like, I mean, it is about being present and it is about being successful, but it's when shit happens that, like, have we trained ourselves to be a certain way so we can stay focused? Because that, to me, when it comes to performance in anything, any performance in life, the center of that is all around focus. If we don't have the right focus, it's hard for all the good stuff to work around it or with it.
I love that. And something that you've taught me that I've, practiced for years is like the most important piece of high performance is managing you managing your state, managing my state. And I think that's what you kind of just talked about. Like, how are we going to respond to the failures?
Mm,
And in your book, it's like, how to deal with uncertainty because there is so much uncertainty. For someone who's listening, who's typically usually reactive, is not able to, manage their state well, what's one tool that they could use, right now to help them learn to manage their state and instead of react to a failure or mistake to respond and get right back up to the next right step?
yeah, I think sometimes understanding the difference between a reaction and a response, starting there, because to me, a reaction is something that has been trained in a way that, like, from from past behaviors, and so, like, and a lot of times when we're reacting to something, there is no thought that go isn't. There's no presence. There's no beings because you've trained yourself a way to react, and a
Mm,
lot of those reactions are kind of activated by triggers. So
yes.
there is no really thought process. There's just an action. There's like just a reaction to it. And not all, some reactions are okay, but not all of them that I've seen are healthy. And so responding is sometimes training the response to a failure or a mistake or uncertainty or the unknown. Training that, you have to slow down and you have to first breathe first. And some people are like, well, what if I don't have enough time? And I said, well, you probably haven't trained your breath, because I've
Mhm.
I've been in a lot of situations where I know that, like, something quick is happening in front of me and I just get into my breath real quick because I've trained it. I've repped out my breath along enough to trust it. So then therefore when I have my breath, I have my mind. And when I have my mind, I have my body. And that to me is the lock-in process of managing like any adversity, uncertainty, or the unknown.
Mm,
So
I love that.
I
Well,
see, I don't know if I what's that?
it's the reps and the practice of it. And the more you practice, the more reps you get in, the better you get at it. Like just the reframing,
Yeah,
right? It's
totally.
like when I first started, it would take me, I would ruminate and the reframe would take me time. Now, like I literally reframe immediately, kind of, like you talked about the breath, it comes to you immediately. And that didn't just
Mhm.
happen. It was because of years of practice. So I love the breath, like you talking about the breath, because does a breath regulate, like help us regulate? Like is that what you're doing? Is like in the breath, like you're regulating your nervous system immediately?
Yeah, 100%. And if you train your breath, and obviously there's hundreds of ways to breathe for certain situations. But the relaxation breath, or what I call is like the optimal breath, is when we breathe in our nose and out our nose. So when you've trained yourself to, as they say, inhale for 4, hold for a second, exhale for 6 through your nose, you're sending a parasympathetic response for your brain and your central nervous system to relax. So if you're constantly, if you're repping out your breath and you meet the uncertainty or the unknown or something that's stressful or you get triggered, then what you're doing is you're actually you're controlling the central nervous system and you're controlling the moment by with your breath. Now, if you can rep it out enough times and trust it, you it's interesting how it works, because if you can get into your breath real quick and then use language. So if you're repping, that's all your reps, right? That's all your work. All those reps that you've done with your breath, and then you use your language, that typically is what we call confidence. Is you take all your preparation, all your work, and then you meet it with the language in that moment. That should give you the confidence to manage whatever you want to manage in that moment.
I love that.
So, yeah.
So the confidence comes because you've been doing the reps, and then you're merging kind of the breath with the thoughts. And then that just gives you that's managing your state. And as you're managing your state and you feel better, it gives you the confidence.
Totally. And then there's you can look at it it depends on the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart, depending on how you look at this. But it's like when you're taking all your preparation, all your reps, and you meet it with language, the right language, then you're activating other things that are awesome, like trust and self-belief. And when those things are working, your self-worth is there's just a lot of stuff that starts to connect. But we all have to know that for all that to work, you got to have the right focus, right? So the focus, when you say focus on breath, focus brings you in, a breath brings you into the present moment so you can focus. So the breath initiates everything so everything can kind of connect into the focus. I know that's kind of deep there and there's a lot moving parts, but
it makes sense, because again, it's a process, and it's all connected, like the thought, then the emotion, then the reaction. And so I think what you're sharing with us is, instead of usually the negative thought comes, then my heart rate goes up, then I get stressed. And this is the opposite. It's like, okay, breathe, bring the other thought in. So basically, I love this. It's the other side of my anxiety loop.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's breathe, bring the good thought in. And then that regulates the energy also, like that, when you talked about energy earlier. So I love it. That's an amazing tool. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. And you know what? As you were talking, you and I have been doing this for a long time. And so there are a lot of cool ways of achieving, good mindset and mental performance. And so there's a lot of different ways to achieve it. But I remember, did you remember the BVT? So do you remember breathe, visualization, and talk?
I do that in the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one I need to revisit.
Yeah. I used to do that in the gym with the little, music track.
That's right.
Yeah. Which brings me to the other component is what we've talked about so much, as the visualization. I still struggle with the visualization, and I know how powerful it is. Can you share with us why the visualization piece of mental performance is so powerful?
Yeah, because what it is, you're training your subconscious or your unconscious mind. When you think about in performance, there's so much research that has shown that you're not going to be that great of a performer when you engage with the conscious mind. When you actually let things happen with your performance, you're allowing the subconscious to actually drive and guide you, right? So the conscious mind actually gets in the way and it kind of stops you. So what visualization does is it trains the subconscious. It allows you to see and feel and also hear and smell and taste all the experiences that you're seeing. So the way that I focus it with athletes, most people can't really get five senses in their visualization, which I understand. So I just have them hone on what they see and what they feel. And if they can hear, awesome, but it's just see it, feel it, do it. Yes. So if you're seeing it and you're feeling it and you're doing it, you're seeing it and you're feeling it and you're doing it, And then along with your physical reps, you're just getting your brain to already be there. It's already seen it. It's already has the confidence. It's already motivated. And so when you've seen something good, like enough times, you're eliminating the overthinking, you're eliminating the what ifs, and you're just trusting and you're letting it happen instead of trying to make it happen.
I love that.
Yeah.
Would you also call that preparation?
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
so when we prepare, and then it feels like when I'm preparing and doing the visualization, that helps me with the confidence as well.
100%. And then remember that there's that really cool saying that I used to say, or still say, your preparation is your separation. So the more
Yes.
you're prepared, you're separating yourself from worry, doubt, all the things, all the negativity that gets in the way of your performance, and you're going into it fully confident. And
Yeah.
that's why we visualize. The number one reason why we visualize is to achieve confidence.
And thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you here at Real Talk. If you've been inspired by what you're hearing and you're ready to take things to the next level, I would be honored to work with you. If you're a leader or entrepreneur ready to soar, I offer one-on-one coaching to help you create a business and life of freedom that you are excited to wake up to. And if you're craving something more intimate, I offer a personal VIP day that includes deep dive coaching, a nature walk, and an early dinner. I promise you will leave just feeling rejuvenated. If this speaks to you, please reach out and let's do this together. You can find me at www.graceredman.com. Now, back to the program. Do you feel when we achieve that confidence, that also helps us in with our breath, that helps us with the visualization, that helps us with the thought process?
100%.
They're all connected.
They're all connected.
So when you're working with athletes, and I mean, we all have to fail. Like, it's part of us, getting to that next level. But when you're working with an athlete and they have a failure, some type of failure or loss, and they start spiraling,
Mhm.
what's one way that you help them get back to center?
So one of the things that I focus a lot on is getting an athlete or a performer to fail better, right?
Mhm. Oh,
So
wow.
it's one of those things. We have to build a relationship with failure or mistake. Now, there's a part of me that feels like before I answer the question is we gotta, like, everyone sees a failure or a mistake differently, and our language is just different. You and I probably have a different definition of what failure is. So
100%.
so I think it's when I'm working with an athlete, I want to understand from them, like, what does it mean to you? Is failure, is it just a mistake? Or when you fail, is it because you're going to get, yelled at by a coach, or you're going to lose your job, or your parents are going to yell at you? Or is it more that you think what they think they might be thinking about you? And that's just like, so it's just the failure has a whole different meaning for everyone else. So it's just understanding that first. Is it a failure or is it a mistake?
What's
And
the difference?
so, well, everyone's different. I think the difference is a failure is not showing up in the moment. So, not willing to do it or even show up or even try.
Mm.
Okay. That's failure. Like a mistake is just what it is. It's just a mistake. And not to get cliche, but if you take the word and you break it in two words, it's a mistake.
I
So
love that.
just take another one. It's just right.
Take
So we got to treat
two.
it. Hey, take two. There it is.
Take three. Bam.
Yeah. So it's like when you think about, in, like, let's say basketball, you miss 10 shots. Well, if you miss 10 shots, there could be someone who doesn't have a good relationship with failing, could really have this story of like how shitty they are, what people think, then they just, coach is not believing in them, he's going to get pulled out. There's just a lot of stuff. Or we could just look at it as just 10 missed shots, or I missed one shot 10 times.
Oh.
Okay, so we have to look at for what it is. It's just all it is. It's just 10 missed shots. And, then people are like, well, it's 20 points. And I'm like, yeah, you're going into actually the score and stats, and we have no control of that. We have control of how we respond to the failure. So let's respond to it by taking another shot. Just another shot. Just another shot. And then after the game, then we'll get into like what we have to try to fix and tweak and like deal with the emotional side. But if you're going to deal with the emotion and deal with the story during the game, you're already out of focus. And if you're out of focus, none of the stuff works.
Yeah, true.
So I don't know if I kind of went on a tangent on that, but like,
I love that because it kind of shows like it's all connected. If you don't have the, like, if well, also it's the story. What's the perception, your perception of a mistake? And like you said, you just reframed it. Is it, 10 missed shots, or is it one, so what I'm hearing you say is it's just really perspective. How are we looking at these things? And then that kind of translates into our energy, translates into what happens next.
Yeah, exactly.
Which then, okay, I get to choose the perspective, which then translates into the energy, which then translates into what happens next based on my thought.
Yes. And if you think about this is great how this is a perfect segue. So a lot of times when we talk about failure, right? We have to understand that failure is not a person, it's an event. So if I fail, that doesn't mean that I'm a failure. I just failed, depending on what we think failing is. But it's like if you're okay with me with my language here, but just because you fuck up doesn't mean that you're a fuck up.
Right.
Okay. It's an event, not a person. And so people, when they don't have a good relationship with failure, this story, this narrative evolves and becomes who they are. And it's part of the process.
Right.
And
if you are attaching your self-worth to the event, like the failure, and then that becomes a self-sabotage. And then you talked about earlier, like you're constantly in this chase. And so I know we've talked about this before, like how can we cultivate a strong sense of self and self-worth so we know, okay, well, that mistake, that was a learning experience. That mistake, okay, I know that I need to make this shot a little bit different so that way you don't internalize it. But that's so much easier said than done because we live in a society that's sometimes an illusion where everything looks like it's perfect. And then we're like, wait, I just made a mistake. I suck. Like everyone thinks I'm a loser. But that's not true. Because so how do you help your clients, your athletes manage that, especially in sports, because everyone's looking at them for like for the win. Sometimes it's I remember being on the field with my kids, and if they lost, it was like a big deal.
Yeah, totally
disappointing, the whole bandstand.
Yeah. This is actually great because I've been doing this a lot with my athletes on this. And I use this in different contexts, but a lot of times when we fail or we make a mistake or we lose the game or the team lost, athletes, they tend to forget about all their work and they put this thing that's happening in front of them, they put a meaning to it, right? So humans are meaning making machines.
Yes, we
are.
So
we create this story based off our experience, and I get it. But today I was working with a Division I pitcher, and he's been playing baseball for 16 years. So what I did with them, I said, how many years have you been playing baseball? How many pitches have you thrown? And how many hours have you put in? So he was like, I put in 16 years of baseball. I've thrown the ball, over 1 million times. And I've put over like close to 100,000 hours in, whether if that was right or wrong, right? That's his perception. And I get, okay, so you've done all this body of work to therefore when you mess up, you think less than of yourself. So either you haven't really taken advantage of all the reps you have, or you forget how great you are.
So good.
Right. So when you put in 16,000 or 16 years and you have 1 million pitches and 100,000 hours, like that is what that's where our self-belief comes from. That's where our confidence comes from. And you trust that shit. And if it actually doesn't work out well in the moment, that doesn't go away. You've
Yeah,
earned that. That's yours.
so good. And how did he respond
Yeah.
to that?
Oh, he was
Mhm.
you know how he responded to it was thank you.
So
Because I
good.
had to, because it was just a reminder. And I want everyone to remind, like, just remind all the work. Even if you put in 2 hours or 2 years of something, that's 2 years.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder.
Yeah. So, and we got to honor our work. And it's, does the story and being an effect of like things we have no control of take more presence than the work that we put in? Why does it have so much more power than the work we put in?
Oh, that's so good. Because you're right, the work that we put in compounds. And like you talked about earlier, the habits and the
Yes.
decisions we make, and it all compounds, and it's law. Like you will get there based on
Mhm.
those habits. Um, so good. Like I can stay here forever. So I want to go back. I know, you're an NCAA quarterback and
Mhm.
quite the athlete, and then you also had your own, challenges with with your health
Mhm.
at a point where you thought that you were going to do different things, and your story is quite remarkable. So can you share with us a little bit about how you overcame that challenge and how you use the mental performance that you talk about today to get you through that?
Yeah. So I played, I was a quarterback and I played for about 12 years. And I hurt my hip when I was in junior college, but then when I went to Sonoma State, I was playing through it. And towards the end of my junior, you can really, yeah, I could feel it, but you can kind of see that I was kind of limping a little bit. Um, and I will say this part of, not to go through all the details and the darkness of it, but like I was upset that I left. I didn't choose to leave the game that I loved. My body was saying like, you need to stop this, and so I left it disgruntled. I felt like I had a really good career, but the last year was probably my worst year. So I left something that was great, very disgruntled because I didn't do well. And I think the year before it was my best year I ever played, and then the following year I had my worst year. So it was kind of this like
Tough.
this tug of war, the thing I was emotionally so that I was dealing with. So I spent I don't know, almost 16, 17 years dealing with identity crisis. I went in and out of depression, walked really funny for a long time, never, lost the identity of an athlete. People wanted to talk to me about sports, talk about the time when I threw the touchdown and did this, did that. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to talk about it. It's not me anymore. And and so then when I ended up getting my first surgery on my hip, because that's where my injury was my left hip, I for some reason there was like this complication that less than 1% that happened. So what happened is I had my scar tissue turned into a bone over time, and it turned into the bone grew from my hip flexor into my buttocks, and it grew 6 inches long, 4 inches wide. And so for 4 years, I was handicapped. I was severely like, when you saw me walk, it was hard. Like it hurt people. They would tell me, like, man, it hurts me to watch you walk. And I was like,
Mm.
yeah, it hurts to walk. So at that time, I thought I was already in a dark spot. I was even darker, even when I thought I was going to take care of my hip. So then after the second one, and I think this is beautiful, and I know you appreciate this, but when my doctor found the right doctor to help, and they found the solution to my problem, he was like, "I know you want to take care of this now, but I want to give you like 6 to 9 months to lose some weight, get mentally prepared for this, because no pun intended, I want you to come out of this thing running." And I was like, all right, cool. And so I did, and I lost weight. I got into breath work, did all my stuff mentally. But back then, I still wasn't engaging what I know now, and what I teach people. So when I came out of that surgery, I knew the second I came out, I was like fixed. I felt I'm like I am like fixed. and I was
Mhm.
pumped and I was on a new life. And so that's how I got back into working with athletes. I went back to school to get my master's in sports psychology, all because of my hip. So all of that, when I learned how to work with people that are injured and I started learning more about mental performance and sports psychology, I started to implement all of this stuff into my routines and the way I've re-engineered Grant.
I love that.
So I took all the good shit that was like there from the old and I brought it with me. I left all the other baggage and let that go. Um, but I just feel like I have to be my work. If I'm gonna if I'm gonna coach people, I've got to do the same stuff too. And I have shitty days. I
We
don't
all
I have
do.
Yeah. And so this stuff helps me get through the shitty days.
We all do. We all do. And thank you so much for sharing that because I feel it just such an important piece to share. Like, okay, like look at, Coach Parr right now. Like he's amazing. He's coaching these athletes. He's got his mindset down. And sometimes people just kind of see, we talked about this earlier, right? The perfect person. I know no one's
Yeah.
perfect, but
Yeah.
then to hear like the backstories where it's like, hey, like I had this great career and then this happened in the darkness. So it's inspiring to know that despite our circumstances, we can still come out on the other side and have amazing things happen, and which you've done. I mean, I know in reading it in your book, it was very inspiring because you go into more detail in that, but you didn't let your circumstances stop you, even though you were in a lot of pain, even though it felt so dark. And that was
Mhm.
before you had the tools. So what do
Right.
you think it was in those moments that really helped you decide like, okay, like I am going to get out of this running?
That's it's all that mindset when I reactivated who I was in that moment, it was all because of what I went through as an athlete. I
Mm,
don't think I would have had that mindset if I didn't understand how to deal with a loss, how to win, how to get through double days, how to when you throw an interception, how to deal with that, when coach yells at you, when people host you up on their shoulders, like the wins, the losses, the adversity, learning all that as a young kid all the way into my 20s.
mm,
I don't forget that. I wanted to forget it because the pain of leaving something that I didn't want to leave, I wanted to let go of it, but it was ingrained in me.
I get
So
it.
that's the beautiful thing about sports is that sure, you might not be the best. Maybe you don't win a championship, but what you learn is going to help you in life. And I'm living proof. It that being an athlete allowed me to actually to get on the other side.
Mm, I love that.
Hmm.
And that's why I'm so interested in learning about, okay, what is mental performance? And that's why I came to you because like you see athletes and you're just, I don't want to say a step above, not better as human beings, but like their commitment and their discipline is so amazing. And that's what I wanted to learn. So what do you think one of the key principles, I know we talked about breath, but like the
Hmm.
key principles, like okay, there's the athlete and there's the business person. Is there really a difference or is it the same principles? We could use the same principles for the athlete and for the business executive.
I, being, I believe yes, you can, and because I spent almost 20 years in corporate America, so I've played in both environments. And so the only thing that's different is the environment itself, like meaning a field versus a boardroom, So there's different dynamics, but the thing about the environment, don't get me wrong, they do play a part in some of our performances, but you can't control the environment. So when it really comes down to what are we training in mental performance, like the mind, body, and spirit,
Mhm,
right? How do we actually align all of that so we can perform in the moment and be free
mhm.
from all the shit that gets in the way? So it's I believe that it's very similar or the same. It's just the environments are a little bit different. It can be challenging. What I do see that later in life, when you look at both sports and also the workplace, what I think, there's a lot of things that we need to do to be great at our performance. But if we can get good at letting go, if we
Yes.
can let go of things, because that's when you get free. Like you're free, you're literally free.
Yes. And
So
let go of what? Like the attachment, the
mm,
outcome. What are we
yeah,
letting go of?
outcome attachments, the past, people's opinions,
All of it.
um, letting go of things that we have no control of, like quotas and um, reports and like just all the things that like we have no control of, that we're letting go of that. And the more you let go, you're creating more space for the next thing.
100%. And you know that I've struggled with this. And it's always something I'm working on, detachment, like detaching from the outcome. But again, you're so used to an outcome and doing these tasks or these things towards the outcome. But what I realize is like when I detach from the outcome and I'm still doing those things towards an outcome, but I'm not attached to it, it comes so much easier. But for some reason, it's depending on what it is, it can be so challenging to detach from the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is? Why is it hard for us to detach from the outcome when we know, like, I know when I detach from this outcome, it always comes. Like, there's never been a time where I've detached and it didn't. And I still have a hard time detaching from the outcome.
Yeah. Well, because the outcome, the outcome itself tells a story. Like if
Mm,
I can hit this, if I become this, if I achieve this, then there's some kind of story that comes about, right?
yes.
So the thing is, I learned a really cool lesson about this early in my career, because when I was working with an Olympic um, athlete, and when I was working with Asia Evans, she was getting ready for the 2018 Olympics. She was in bobsled, and she was the 2014 bronze medalist. All she was talking about was gold, 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 outcome, outcome, outcome. And I was sitting there going, process, 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 right? And so that's fine. That's fine. But when I was telling this to one of my closest friends, Greg Romero, who is a three-time BMX gold Olympic coach, he knows a few things about the Olympics, and he's also in the Hall of Fame for BMX as well. So when I told him about what I was doing with Asia and how I was trying to get her away from like the outcome, he was like, "Dude, I got to stop you." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, and this is like my third, fourth year into my career. He goes, "When's the last time you've been in the Olympics?" And I'm like, "I haven't." He goes, "When's the last time you won a medal?" And I'm like, "Uh, I haven't." And he goes, why are you making your goal her goal? If her goal is gold, then I understand what you're saying. Build the plan, the process, the way of being, what you need to do and be, but it's in alignment of going towards that goal. We can have the conversation of gold.
Okay.
Don't want to always go towards it, but we want to like keep it there so we can actually, but we have to like we have to take all the effort and the being and the doing in that direction. But don't, like, you're trying to make your goal her goal.
I love that. And so was your goal that detachment?
It was, because I thought it was, because the goal was, you can't control that. So why are we focusing on it?
Got it. Okay. I like this. So you still want to get to it and you're going to do the things that you need to get, your habits, the practice to
Mhm.
get to it. And that's okay. And have a little bit, like, how did you, because you still have to have some type of detachment because then there's resistance if you're so focused on it and nothing
Right.
else.
Yeah. So it goes back to, so remember, like, so what do I need to be in order for me to win
Got
that
it.
goal?
Okay. So it's
So the
going back
being is
to
the
your
intention.
identity.
Yeah.
Oh, very
So
cool.
yeah. And I've done that so many times with athletes where I'll ask them their goals, and they're like, I want to be, 2-time MVP. And I'm like, sweet. So let's go do that. And they go, well, I know I probably shouldn't. I'm like, wait, why? And that was actually an athlete that happened. And they're like, well, my dad told me that I shouldn't focus on this outcome goal. I said, I understand that. But is that what you want? Do you want to be the 2-time MVP? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, then let's go get it. We just got to understand the things we need to do and be consistent about the behaviors and focus on that. And if we do, it's going to lead us to the MVP. Trust me. And
It's
this
law.
kid this kid did it. And so
It is law.
yeah.
Because what you said, like, okay, how are you going to be? So you're creating that identity, and you're taking, you're doing taking the actions and the habits towards that identity, and then you're being, and then it's just law. Like, it's
Yeah.
just law.
And trust it. Trust that. Like,
Yeah.
trust it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
So
the thing is like, when we talk about the outcome, like the outcome, what we're doing sometimes, I believe, is that we're overlooking what we need to do and be the process, because we're so focused on getting there. And that's the whole walk to win mentality. We need to understand what we need to do and be, and then we have to work that plan. And sometimes we have to slow down before we can speed up, but we have to be in it, be present. That's walking to win. It's not about like, I want to be gold. I want to hit gold. I want to hit gold. And you're not really paying attention to the vital things that we need to do.
totally.
So you're going
process.
Yeah.
It is really the process and the systems and the discipline and the habits that get you there.
Yeah. Totally.
That is law. That is
law.
Effect.
I love it.
Oh, I mean, yeah, just being. I know I want to be respectful of your time, but I have one more question. We talk about the hustle and grind culture, which we both came up in the hustle and grind culture. And I've had to really work on that, integrating being and integrating, wellness. But when I think about athletes and I think about high performance, it's still, I'm still working on it. And that's, also what I teach is we have to integrate. We can't just hustle and grind. But I'm having a hard time really, because you do have to hustle. And there are going to be some times where there's grind. So what does the hustle and grind look like for us moving forward? How are we integrating the wellness? Like, what does that look like?
Well, and I'll bring some thought to this from my mentor, Grant Parr, on this topic. But like, when we think about the word, because we use like hustle, like it's like a badge of honor. Like, I'm hustling, I'm grinding, right?
Yeah.
And I get it. I actually like it. I understand too that it can be a negative connotation, because hustling and grinding, like if you're hustling for a long time, well, it's after a while, it just sounds kind of fun and thrilling, but exhausting.
It's not sustainable, but I still love the hustle and grind. And I know it's not. So again, like the elevated life, we're going to hustle and integrate. And maybe that just looks different for different people. Because for some, people I've talked to, they're like, no, there's no integration. Like, it's just straight hustle, like put the pedal down and go.
I get it. But here's a different way of looking at it. When you think about grinding, when you, for the most part, what the energetic pull of grinding is, like when you grind something, you're pushing down on something for the most part. So it's like the energetic pull is down when you're grinding. If you grind too much and you're not coming up to breathe and doing the right stuff, and you're going to get exhausted and quit, right? So this is where, I'm totally giving this to Grant Parr, because he's the one that like coined this. But for you to actually hustle and grind and do the long run and have it to be a marathon, you got to grease your grind.
Oh, nice.
And so when I'm like, all right, so what do you mean by that? Like, how do we grease the grind? And he goes, well, you have to understand, why are you doing what you're doing, and what's the joy of it? So if you
Mm,
understand what your why is, and you understand the joy within the process, that's how you're going to, and remind yourself of that. That's the grease within
yes,
the grind.
the joy. And I definitely,
Yeah.
definitely have joy in all of the things that I'm doing.
Yeah, totally.
Uh, so what's your joy these days before I am respectful of your time and let you go? I can't believe it's almost been an hour.
I know. Man, a few things. Doing this job for 10 years, I think as much as I spent a lot of time with early in my career with teams, I'm just really digging creating impacts and teaching younger kids, high school athletes and college athletes how to just be free. So like I'm at a point in my career where I really feel like I'm in my lane. Like
Nice.
it just feels really good in the connections and the relationships. So there's that part of the joy of the job. And then there's music. Right now there's just like being back in San Francisco and just creating music and creating some new communities is kind of cool. So that's kind of my joy right now. So
Oh, I love that you're in the Bay Area.
great.
I love
Gracie
that.
Grace.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me. That was super fun. I know it's been a long time coming. I appreciate you. And can you share with our audience where they can find you?
Yes. So I actually revamped my website, so that's a new little
That's
fun
great.
project. So gamefaceperformance.com is my website. IG is GFP Mindset. That's usually where I spend most of my time, and then you can find me on LinkedIn as well under Grant Parr.
And then we will share all of that with you in the episode. And thank you so much for joining me today. That was fun.
Yeah,
Because
thanks, Grace.
I could stay here forever. So I want to be respectful. For those of you watching, listening, thank you so much for joining us. As always, please like, share, subscribe so we can continue to bring you amazing guests like Coach Grant Parr. I appreciate you. I love you. And until next time, take care.